Her first journey, what careful, painstaking, elaborate plans she had to make for. For her first journey, she had to make very careful, elaborate planning. She had to do the proper planning. Hard work she had to do for making the plans. She had to do all these things for her first journey. She had thriftily saved whatever stray coins came her way. She very carefully saved all the money, whatever she got, resisting every temptation to buy peppermints, toys, balloons, and the like. And finally, she had saved a total of 60 paisa. She stopped, she overtook her temptation. She resisted her temptation to buy peppermints, toys. Peppermints here means the mint toffees or sort of things, toys, balloons, and other things, many more things like this. She stopped her temptation. And finally, she was able to save 60 paisa. How difficult it had been, particularly at the day of village fair. When there was the day for village fair, she very particularly on that day she had to stop. She has to stop herself. She had to stop herself, sorry, from spending money on the things she like, but she had resolutely stifled a strong desire to ride merry-go-round even though she had the money. She was having the money with her, but still she stopped herself very strongly to sit on merry-go-round and have a ride. After she had enough money saved, her next problem was how to slip out of the house without her mother's knowledge. The next problem was how she will go without her mother, without her mother unnoticing. But she managed this without too much difficulty. But she was able to manage this also without much difficulty. Every day after lunch, her mother would nap from about 1 to 4 or so. Every afternoon, her mother goes for a nap for about 1 to 4 or so. Wali always used these hours for her excursion as she stood looking from the doorway. Here, excursion means not to go somewhere out, but to maybe she for roaming about in the village. And sometimes she used to stand in the doorway to look at the buses which were passing through her street and the passengers which were getting on and off of the bus. So, or sometimes even ventured out into the village. So that's what I was telling you. Sometimes she used to roam in the village, like uh, went out in the village to meet her friends or something, like to play with them. And these same hours today, same hours could be used for her first excursion outside the village, and the same hours, that is 1 to 4, can be used for her first visit outside the village. The bus rolled on, now cutting across a bare landscape. Now the bus was passing or moving on the bare landscape, means a bare land, a piece of land. Now rushing through a tiny hamlet, passing through the small towns, very congested small towns, or past an odd wayside shop, or passing through the sides of the shops which were in the streets and which were very congested streets. Sometimes the bus seemed to point of gobbling up another vehicle that was coming towards them, or a pedestrian crossing the road. Sometimes it seemed to her that bus is going to hit the vehicle which is coming from the opposite side of their bus, or sometimes a person who is crossing the road, bus is going to hit that person. But somehow it passed on smoothly, but it was nothing like that happened. The journey was smooth, leaving all the obstacles safely behind. Trees came running towards them, but then stopped as the bus reached them and simply stood there helpless for a moment by the side of the road before the rushing away in the other direction. The roadside trees, seemed to her that the trees are running towards the bus. But as soon as the bus reached that point, it seemed that trees are standing on the roadside helplessly, and they stood still over there for a little time, and then when the bus passed, it seemed that they moved in the opposite direction of the bus. Suddenly Vali clapped her hands with glee means happiness. She clapped her hand with happily, A young cow, tail high in the air, was running fast right in the middle of the road. She saw a cow was whose tail was high in the air. That cow was running on the roadside and in the middle of the road in front of their bus. The bus slowed to a crawl. The driver slowed down the speed of the bus, and the driver sounded his horn loudly again and again. And the driver blew his horn loudly again and again, but the more he honked, the more frightened the animal became and the faster it galloped. The more he honked the horns, the animal became frightened and it more like fast with a great speed it started moving. Gallop means move fast quickly on the foot and always right in front of the bus, and it was right in front of the bus. Somehow, this was very funny to Wali. She laughed and laughed until there were tears in her eyes. Hey lady, haven't you laughed enough? Called the conductor. Conductor asked her, is it not enough laughing? Better save some for tomorrow. At last, the cow moved off the road. Finally, the cow crossed the road, and soon the bus came to railroad crossing. Now, the bus was moving through a railroad crossing, and soon the bus came. A speck of a train could be seen in the distance. Just a spot. Here, speck means spot. The spot of a bus means the very small. You can see the train at a distance, and it seemed that there is just a spot speck of a bus train was seen from distant, growing bigger and bigger as it drew near. As it was coming nearer, it seemed bigger and bigger. Then it rushed past the crossing gate and with the tremendous roar and rattle. Then the train passed through the track, and there was a tremendous loud noise and the rattle shaking the bus, and the windows of the bus were shaking. Then the bus went on and passed the train station. From there, it traversed a busy, well laid out shopping street. Now, the bus moved towards a busy, which was full of people, congested, well laid shopping street, and the shops were maintained well and turning entered a wider thoroughfare, and then it turned or entered into a broad market, big market. What glittering display! Such big, bright looking shops. The shops were well maintained, there were proper lighting. So she was like, what the glittering display of clothes and other merchandise, such a big crowd. And Wali was surprised to see the shops, how well maintained, the lighting, and how they had displayed the clothes and other things. Other merchandise means other things. Such a big crowd, and the people were, as the lane was busy, she was surprised to see such a big crowd of people. Stuck dumb with wonder, Wali gaped at everything. She was like surprised, and because of surprise she was not able to make any noise out of her mind. She was just like dumb. She was not speechless. She was completely speechless to see the she was like wondering or looking at everything with surprise. Then the bus stopped and everyone got off except Wali did not get down the bus. She was sitting in the bus. Hey lady, said the conductor, aren't you ready to get off? You're not ready to go off? This is as far as your 30 paisa takes you. This is the journey you have paid 30 paisa for. Now the bus, you have reached your destination. Conductor asked her to get down. No, Wali said, I'm going back on the same bus. Now Wali said, no, I will not get down. I have to go back on the same bus. She took another 30 paisa from her pocket and handed the coins to the conductor. Why? Is there something matter? Is there anything wrong with you? No, nothing is the matter. I just felt like having a bus ride, that's all. Now she told the conductor that she was in the mood to have a bus ride. That is why she came on the bus. Now she wants to go back. Don't you want to have a look at the sights? Now you are here, driver asked her if she, conductor, sorry, asked her if she doesn't want to look around. Once she has reached a town, she should go down and look around everything. All by myself? Oh, I would be much too afraid. Now Wali answered the conductor's question. She said, I have to see everything all by myself? No, 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 she will not go. Greatly amused by girl's way of speaking, the conductor said, but you weren't afraid to come in the bus? Now, conductor, after hearing her answer, the conductor asked her, "But earlier you were not afraid to come in the bus?" "Nothing to be afraid about that," she answered. She said there was nothing afraid to come into the bus. "Well, then why not to go to stall over there and have something to drink? Nothing to be afraid of that, of about that either." Now, conductor pointed out towards a shop and asked Vali to get something for her from that shop. "Oh no, I couldn't do that," Vali answered. No, she could not do that. "Well, then let me bring you a cold drink." Then conductor offered her a cold drink. "No, I don't have enough money. Just give me my ticket, that's all." Now she said she doesn't have enough money to buy the cold drink and just asked the conductor to give her her ticket. "It will be all my treat and no not cost you anything," conductor said. "It will be a treat for you from my side and I will not take any charge from you for this." "No, no," she answered firmly. She said firmly, very firmly, with strong determination. She said, "No, please, no." She said, "No, I do not want anything." The conductor shrugged and shrugged, agreed. Conductor agreed and they waited until it was time for the bus to begin the return journey. And they were sitting in the bus and waiting for the bus to start its return journey. Again, there weren't many passengers. Again, while going back, there were not many passengers. "Won't your mother be looking for you?" Now, conductor asked her if her mother won't be worried about her. The conductor asked when he gave the girl the ticket. "No, no one will be looking for me," she said. She said, "No, no one will be worried about me." The bus started again. There was the same wonderful sights. Wally wasn't bored in the slightest and greeted everything with the same excitement she had felt first time. First time when she sat in the bus and when she looked outside, the scenes, what the sights, what she looked at were were amusing. She was amazed to look at those things. The same excitement she was having at when she was going back. But suddenly she saw a young cow laying dead by the roadside, just where it had been struck by some fast moving vehicle. It must have been struck or hit by a fast moving vehicle. "Isn't that the same cow that ran in front of the bus on our trip to town?" She asked the conductor. "Is it the same cow which they had seen while going to the town?" She, the conductor nodded. The conductor said yes. And she was overcome with sadness, and she filled with sadness, her heart filled with sadness. What had been a lovable, beautiful creature just a while ago and now suddenly lost its charm and its life and looked so horrible, so frightening as it lay there, legs spread dead, a fixed stare in its lifeless eyes, blood all over. She said, "Before, few moments before, the cow was full of life. It was beautiful. It was lovable creature. But now suddenly it has lost all its charm, beauty, love, life, and it looked so horrible the way it's lying on the road with its legs spread, and there is blood everywhere, and in the eyes, life eyes are lifeless. They are lifeless means they are not moving at all." The bus moved on. The memory of the dead cow haunted her, dampening her enthusiasm. Because of this sadness, she lost her enthusiasm to look outside the bus. She now no longer wanted to look out of the window. She said, thus glued to her seat. She was now sitting as if she's been fixed to her seat until the bus reached the village at 3:40. Till she finished her journey, she was sitting only at her seat. She stood up and stretched herself. She stood up and stretched. Then she turned to the conductor and said, "Well, sir, I hope to see you again." Then she said, conductor, that she would like to see him again. She would see her again, see him again in future. "Okay, madam," he answered her, smiling. "Whenever you feel like a bus ride, come and join us, and don't forget to bring your fare." She laughed and jumped down from the bus. Then she went running straight for home. Then she went running and directly went to her home. When she entered her house, she found her mother awake. She found her mother was not sleeping, she was awake and talking to one of Wali's aunts. And she was talking to one of her aunts, the one from the south street. And the aunt had come where she lived. She lived at South Street. This aunt was a real chatterbox, never closing her mouth once she started talking. And this aunt was very much talkative. And where have you been? Said her aunt when Wali came in. When Wali entered the house, her aunt questioned her where she was. She spoke very casually, not expecting a reply. She answered very casually, and she was not expecting any reply. So Wali just smiled, and her mother and aunt went on with their conversation. They kept on talking. Yes, you are right, her mother said. So many things in our midst. Her mother was talking to her aunt. What were they talking about? They were talking, there are so many things among us, midst us, and in the world outside, and in the outside world also. How can we possibly know about everything? It's not possible for us to know about everything happening around them. And even when we do know about something, we often can't understand it completely, can we? Then her mother said, okay, fine, we know about the things, but it's not exactly like we know, but we cannot understand them completely. Oh yes, bread Wali. Wali answered, yes. What? Asked her mother. What's that you say? Her mother said, whoa, what did you say right now? You said about the things happening about you. Oh, said Vali, I was just agreeing with what you said about things happening without our knowledge. She said, I have just agreed with the sentence you spoke just now. Just a chit of a girl, she is, said her aunt. Her aunt said she is just a small girl, a baby only. And yet, look how she pokes her nose into our conversation and how she interferes in our conversation, just as though she were a grown lady. She listens or gives her opinion in their conversation as if she is a grown lady. Wali smiled to herself. She did not want them to understand her smile. But then there wasn't much chance of that, was there? There wasn't any chance of understanding others. Why Wali gave a smile. That's it, children, for your today's lesson. Thank you.